So, Akhandadhi is a core team director of the Science and Philosophy Initiative at Bhaktivedanta Institute, Florida. He is a Vaishnava Hindu theologian specializing in Vedanta philosophy. Particularly, he was principal of Bhaktivedanta Manor, a very beautiful temple in London, and he is also a trustee of the faith authority for the Avanti Hindu schools in the UK. Philosopher and trained in the integration of modern science and philosophies of Vedanta, Sankhya and Yoga. So over to you, Akhandadhi.
Thank you very much. Oma jnana tamarandasya jnana jana salakha chakshur militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Anyway, thank you to all the organizers. This has been an incredible weekend. I've thoroughly enjoyed all the presentations, and very important to me, to Dr. Cremo and others in our work for developing the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, and particularly the museum that will sit within the west wing of that temple, the museum of the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. So, in a few minutes, what are museums for? Well, if you look it up, they'll tell you the functions. Basically, what they do is they acquire stuff. They record it. They may be presented. They may exhibit it. They may do some research, and they try and do some education. Those are the functions. But as we heard from Dr. Kalyan Chakravarti yesterday, we need de-museumization, or however the word was. We need to move away from the old model of museums. We need to see them as living communities, as places that actually embody the tradition, that preserve the tradition, that glorify it for the future. And I think that was Srila Prabhupada's brilliance. He chose the pilgrimage area of Navadvip, the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the starting point for the whole Gaudiya Vaishnav rejuvenation of the Indian culture, of Bhagavatam, of Bhakti. He chose that as the place, because it's already a living community of Bhakti, of devotion. He chose Mayapur, the place where he could establish a city. And if some of you have been there, you may know that it's from the first day I went there in the 1970s, when we had one or two little buildings. Now it is a huge campus with with thousands of devotees living, practicing, working, and receiving tens of thousands of visitors almost daily. So it is a living center. And in the middle of that, the focus will be the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. And within its west wing, we want to have this museum. So we want to, as Dr. Chakravarti said, we want to move from simply a museum being a collection of objects to the recollection of ideas. That was a great phrase he used. And that's what we are doing in the museum. It is all about ideas, and it addresses the major questions that humans have always had and will always have. And I think, Dr. Penna, you mentioned them. Is he still? Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you very much. You mentioned these sort of questions. And actually, when you were mentioning them, they follow the levels of progression in the journey that we want to take people through as they go through the museum. And it starts with, where do I find knowledge? You know? And really there's two methods. One is the ascending empirical process that is used by modern science and philosophy, trying to figure out from what we can see, what does it mean, and try and build it up. But there's another system, a descending system. And that is based on the principle that if the source of all existence is sentient and can communicate with us, then it may be possible to receive knowledge directly from that supreme source. And one of those sources, and we'll say just one, just to be broad, is the Vedas. And we heard also that very nice analysis that amongst all the Vedas, the key philosophy is the Upanishads. And the Upanishads are summarized in Vedanta. But Vedanta becomes clear to us through the Puranas. And of all the Puranas, there is the Mahapurana, Srimad Bhagavatam, which completely elucidates the message of the Upanishads and the whole Vedic tradition in one picture. So this museum is a museum of Srimad Bhagavatam, basically. It is giving these ideas.
1 minute.
I've got 1 minute left. Thank you. But that is the point. It is the museum. It will take people through, who am I? Consciousness. I am an eternal spiritual being. And we'll show them that from an analysis of physics, of neuroscience, of philosophy, that there is no other conclusion other than I am a conscious being. And what is life? Life, the interaction of consciousness as Purusha with Prakriti. And to show how the ramifications, once you understand consciousness, you can start to understand biology. Without understanding consciousness, biology remains a mystery. It just gets more and more confusing. And where am I? In the cosmos. And we've heard lots about how that reveals a broader picture of who I am, what I am in this world, and where I belong beyond this universe. And Dr. Krimo showed that picture of Vaikuntha, and at the heart of Vaikuntha, Golok. So then it leads to, what can I do about it? So the idea is, as Gauranga said yesterday, we can't just, the UN kind of came to the conclusion that they can't just be science and idea and data, that we actually need inspiration and transformation. So we hope the museum isn't just going to deal with all facts and figures. It will have plenty of information to deal with people's doubts. And then we hope, Shtitosmi gata sandeha. Now I am firm and free from doubt. Now I'm resolved. Now I can undergo transformation. So we will integrate them with the community, the living community of devotion that is there in Mayapur. And from then, we hope that they will go out back to the world and act for the real benefit. Hare Krishna.
We'll move to the next panelist.